and we should be live. Hello, and welcome to Let's Drone Out. Tonight, we are joined by everyone's favourite Curry Kidden.
Hello.
My buddy Carl.
Howdy.
Who was on his other podcast. Didn't even get an invite.
We don't talk about that.
In the chat.
You did get an invite. You were hanging out in the chat.
I know. I'm joking.
We did have Schizo on the other night. That's true.
Yeah. Yep. The man with the mustache, Stephen.
Evening all. I hope you're doing well.
Post the link in the chat if you want, Cole.
Yeah, sounds good.
Watch that later. And the wonderful, she never looks a day over 20, Mako Reactra.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Bit of unfortunate news. Tony has unfortunately left the show. We're all deeply saddened by this.
Yeah.
Through some
he fell off the side of the earth.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Through some creative differences. He is still moderated in the chat and can still chat within the chat.
I did send him the link, so he may or may not pop in.
Things are never very permanent around here, though, are they?
No.
I'm sure we'll hear from him again.
Yeah, he had a hissy fit. Admittedly, I haven't been very good at reaching out and communicating with him, so he probably feels somewhat ignored by me. But hopefully we can talk. And
on to more pressing matters. Mako, I gather you finally joined the club of drone flyers and eventually lost a quad after what is this? Coming up to maybe 8-10 years.
I started in 2018, so what is that? 6 years? Around 6 years. I lost my first quad last summer. Yeah, and I do fly a lot over water. I'm primarily a drone racer, but I love flying over water. Being in the northeast of the United States, I have a lot of beaches, marshes, and did lose one in a marsh, but found it. But of course, that's salt water, so it was sizzling and pretty much everything was ruined. But I was glad to get my camera back, and
to be fair, if you found it, even if it's knackered and broken, you haven't lost it. You've just things to fix or recover or throw away, but at least you found it.
Well, that's the first. Okay. So I lost two, technically. Well, technically I lost. Okay, I lost one because you just told me I didn't lose that one. I found it. So the one that I lost, that one is actually a heartbreaker. That one is in the ocean. I was doing a mid-range flight. I kind of have a little trauma with that one, which is why I think I put it out of my memory and started talking about the one I found first. So anyways, it's in the ocean. I did a mid-range flight, went out to an island and turned around and instantly lost my video. I was flying an older drone, so I was kind of in a rush to get out there, and I didn't let my satellites pick up. So I did rookie mistakes after years of flying. And finally lost one.
Well, so long as you've got the memories, really,
So you had the GPS.
I tried to block it out.
So GPS was on there just in case, but you thought, satellites, who needs them? I'll just go.
I literally was flying straight and back, so I thought I was gonna be fine.
What could go wrong?
You know what? Every time I do that, I've recently kind of done that. All right, let's send it out straight for a while. And then a little further. And I hope by the time I turn around, I still have some visual. And luckily, I haven't had that the dismay that you have yet.
You ever do the halfway turn? You get 30 degrees off axis, and you're like, oh, no. And then you're lined up and you're reversing. Let's just get a couple of yards closer to me and then think about this turning thing all over again.
I actually saved one that way. I lost video over the ocean before with a Cinewhoop, and I flipped my goggles off and I pulled it back by just going in reverse the whole way because I'm not good at flying line of sight.
Skills.
Yeah, you have to go backwards at that point if you're not in the goggles, or else everything's backwards, right?
At first I think I was going the wrong way, and I'm I'm just gonna pull it in reverse then, and not even worry about turning because I'll screw up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, know you know where you got to go. Just zero yaw and wait till you hear the buzzing.
You guys had to start with the rough questions about me losing.
Oh, get it out of the way. Get it out of the way.
I'm actually a good pilot, I swear.
Now.
I was just going to rub it in and say, since 2012, no drones lost. Lots crashed, but I don't fly over water that much, so I get away with it.
One of mine disappeared into the park, and I did a grid search. It was this tiny little thing when I was learning to fly line of sight, and it just vanished. Little brushed guy. Somewhere out there.
I mean, if we're going to bring it down to toys, technically, I was testing this little, it must have been like this 20-pound little fly on your phone thing with Sophie. And it had this thing where you can put, like, you can say, go that way and that way. You draw a little thing on the map. And we did that. And we pressed it and it just went, whoosh. That was the last we saw of it. It's like, okay. Someone's got that.
So-called autonomous drones, definitely.
Yeah.
It's in God's
any
hands.
autonomous drone that costs like 20 quid is possibly a little bit dodgy.
It's autonomous, as in you don't control the throttle; it does. That's where the autonomy is.
Doing its own thing.
Yeah.
There must be a lot of drones on the ocean floor. That's all I gotta say.
Well, new hobby, scuba diving. Go back, get it.
I do have a friend who scuba dives, but no.
It'll be like the sunken treasure of the 21st or 22nd century. People just go out there and, like, when lithium is scarce and no one's got any, and they're like going down and pulling out all this corroded lithium packs out of stuff. So what else have you been up to then? You seem to dabble in quite a bit, from the kind of the STEM stuff through racing. What else has been on the calendar?
I'm primarily a racer, and I also manage a women's race team called Mach 1, which I think you guys have talked about in a prior episode with Zoe. We're an all-female team, but we have a racing side and a freestyle side, and I co-manage it with somebody, but I'm also a pilot, of course. So about 8 of us fly. I'm getting a spam call. 8 of us fly on a DCL team, Drone Champions League, which is a professional drone racing league. And there are teams from all over the world that compete. There's China Dragons, a French team called X-Blades, a Japanese team called Raiden Racing. So we're Mach 1, and we're the first all-female team to join the league. And we, 2 of us, myself and another pilot, just got back from Abu Dhabi for their split final. We weren't there competing, but we were there running like a simulator booth and educating the public a little bit about drones and sort of sharing our passion. But it was quite the event in Abu Dhabi because it was at a tech convention. And like you were saying, it was autonomous stuff. Tons of smart autonomous vehicles, air, land, sea, boats. There were air taxis. There's this really cool one. I think it's called the Airwolf. And it made me think of Star Wars, like those air speeders. It had tilted rotors, so it could, take off like a drone vertically, but then they would tilt and you'd be riding it. 1 or 2 people get on, sort of like a crotch rocket. And it totally just looked like Star Wars. But cool. In the middle of that event, we had our drone racing. We had a virtual final as well as a live final, and a really big, like those eVTOL drones, which are like the ones that are, trying to be manned one day, but they're flying remotely right now. So that's what I've been up to lately.
That's cool.
How did the racing booth go? Was it well received?
Yeah, there were a lot of people interested in it. Really diverse group coming in. We had tons of kids, of course, coming in and out, wanting to come and try it over and over again. It was funny, we couldn't put them in acro mode. I mean, like maybe 1 or 2 people tried acro mode, but they instantly would, like flip. Exactly. Yeah. And they were so funny about it because they're like, oh, this isn't the mode you fly in? Like, show me that mode. And then they would fail miserably. So we were in arcade mode. And they were flying on a PlayStation, so it was very different. But the kids would like come back again and again. And we had sheiks, which are known as, the royalty of the country. So that was really like nerve-wracking when they would come by and they're like, "You're going to show a king this simulator." Like,
wow!
Oh my gosh! But I got offered a job to go teach, English over there. They wanted to buy the chairs. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I bet you it's a whole different world over there, right? Compared to North America. I've never been.
Yeah, I loved going over there. It was really cool experiencing a different culture. everyone was really nice, and the city was super clean and really easy to get around. And it was it's so interesting because there's so much history in the Middle East, but there's also in Abu Dhabi, there's just so much modernity, you know, just so much tech and the latest stuff out there. So it was a weird mix of old and new.
Sounds fascinating. Yeah, I don't think we really understand how it works from here in Europe, and I guess it's probably the same in the United States. That it's a bit of a kind of a closed off culture. It doesn't really export a lot of culture to us, so it's hard to know what's going on there.
Yeah, and I was like looking it up, and they said it's the safest city in the world. Abu Dhabi is.
Oh wow!
And I really felt that way. And we were at the Yas Marina circuit, which is the Formula One track over there. So it was really cool to have the guys on the other teams sort of flying their drones on the track. And they had autonomous race cars, and they were going against each other, but also against manned race cars. Definitely not.
They do like racing, don't they?
Definitely more exciting to see the manned race cars. The autonomous ones were a bit slow, and they would get kind of congested and confused with each other. But it was kind of neat to see like a team of engineers working on this race car and another team of engineers.
It looked like they're kind of friendly to air shows and displays as well. We had a guy on just last week who filmed some stuff in Abu Dhabi, and they had some incredible pyro and air show displays that they were allowed to do there, which is very hard to kind of get rubber stamped in the rest of the world, I guess. They seem very open to that type of stuff.
Yeah, they had a race the week before in Sharjah, and it was a live drone race, not virtual, and it was received very well. So they're definitely interested in that technology.
Were you? I think you were doing some whoop racing stuff out there too, right? Did you already?
No, actually, I should have mentioned this. We could not bring drones into the country.
That's what I was wondering. I was curious about the legality of bringing having quads over there. So
yeah, they even told me like, don't even bring your whoop, because I was like, I'm just gonna put my whoop in there. It's a toy, but they're like, just don't. But so the drones that they flew in the live race were all built there. And normally in Drone Champions League, the live competitions are not just flight. The teams design with some specs, design and build all their drones. So it's not just flight, it's a competition of engineering too. And that part was eliminated due to the fact that we couldn't bring drones in. So everyone flew the same drone that was built by DCL, and they had like one very short opportunity to practice with them, and then they just went for it.
Wow.
What are the DCL drones like then? Because they're not like freestyle quads. They're not like other race quads either, are they? They're pretty big.
I wish I had a picture or one handy. They have very large canopies. The ones I saw there had 5 inches, but I think they've flown 7 inches in the past. I think they did HD0 for this race. Yeah, they did HD0. Foxier also offered a lot of parts. I think they were flying 5S.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
but,
they
also
want to make them really. They like to make them really big and like less overpowered than regular freestyle, I guess. So it looks more cinematic and easier for the cameras to track. You can
exactly. Like I normally fly 5-inch drones, which are the fast ones like this.
Yep.
Those are much larger.
You never worry about that guy pulling out the
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're much more slowed down, which I think makes for a more competitive race.
Plus all the LEDs and everything, right? All over them, and
yeah. Each
they have
team
like built-in
has
GoPros as well. They used to have like a special GoPro mount, so all the drones would carry a GoPro and they could do proper HD footage. Do they still do that?
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. DRL did that too. Drone Racing League.
Very cool.
So there's a massive difference between multi-GP and DRL. Then do you do both? I mean, how do you approach them? They sound like they'd be totally opposite ends of the spectrum.
I know. I started with Tiny Whoops, those little indoor drones, which I talked to you guys about last time I was here, and then I went to the 5-inch. And right now, multi-GP, I've been in maybe over 150 races, I bet, for 5-inch tiny whooping, but they've just released a new spec for 7-inch. So the race that they had in Sharjah in the Middle East, was the same type of drone. So they're trying to get everyone on board with the spec drone, which is 7 inches. It's really, really like durable. So I think like you're going to get much tighter racing. You're going to get fewer people breaking shit, because the 5-inch drones, they just explode. If you hit something hard enough, they just explode. You have to have tons of backups if you're on race day. So that will be a really fun spec to fly. I just ordered up one the other day, so I want to build that up. And it's all HD 0. I think it's 5S as well, but there's like, you have to have 2808 motors. There's a couple of things.
Is this the Street League thing, or is that something different?
Street League came first, and I think this was slightly inspired by Street League. There's a little drama with that. So Street League is no longer a part of MultiGP. They kind of created their own spec called Pro Spec now. And they have a race coming up.
I'm behind on all this.
Yeah, they have some races coming up around the country that they're really trying to promote and to get people all going to that. But I've seen a lot of pilots with frames and builds, so I think it's going to catch on.
Okay.
I think people are tired of the 5-inch racing and just like breaking all their stuff all the time. And I think in order to get spectators on board, you're going to have to slow it down.
Yeah, you've got
is that one of the ideas? Aside from the fact that obviously 7-inch isn't as fast as 5-inch, there's a lot more volume to sort of have to displace the air. Is it about being able to see them as well? They're a slightly bit bigger.
Yeah, they had a huge crowd. I don't know if it was the biggest crowd. I mean, our DCL race also had a big crowd. They were similar, but they had a huge crowd at that Sharjah event, and they're going back in January. So people are really liking it. They had families in the audience. They were doing giveaways. It really made me think of another sporting event.
Well, that's cool.
Cool.
Because how do you find, aside from the big event like that one in Abu Dhabi, how's the sort of the racing scene in the US right now? Because I think we've all sort of thought that it was this big bubble several years ago, and everything was going to be like, oh, this is going to be amazing, and it seems to have sort of dropped off. And some would say the hobby's in decline, and because there's a lot more stuff with remote ID and bits like that. Are you still finding it's a big scene and people are still really into it and turning up at all the events and things?
I think locally we've slowed down a little bit. So that might be the same around the country. I'm not really sure, but it's hard to tell. I think it could go either way. I think with the Pro Spec League that's coming out, it's really hyping everyone up. And because we don't really have a professional league in the US, kind of DRL has fallen off a little bit. So MultiGP is trying to pick up that slack. And I think that has created a lot of hype. A lot of pilots have a deep respect for MultiGP. It's kind of where they started. It's very grassroots. So they know how to put on races. I've been to FAI races. I've been to the World Games, which had another group kind of organizing it with FAI. And no one does it like MultiGP. So if anyone can make it happen, they definitely will. I'm seeing racers who kind of fell out of the game coming back, like Captain Vanover, for example. Like, he was a huge drone racer back in the day, and he kind of moved to the cinematic scene doing movies. And now he's coming back for the Pro Spec. Heads Up kind of fell off a little bit, and he's like full force back at racing too. So who knows? I see potential for sure. But I also see, with regulations and stuff, like it could be an issue. A lot of, I work to get our fields to become what's called a FRIA. Here in the United States, we have FRIAs. So it's a place where you can fly legally. So all of our fields, all of our fields are FRIAs. And I know a lot of the MultiGP chapters have worked to do that too.
So there's some growing pressure then to be more media friendly, to be less like, hey, let's follow this insanely fast cloud of bees, which no camera can track. So you go bigger and you get HD cameras, and then you can get replays that are not like crusty SD video, but they look nice. And you can do like the 4-up and it looks beautiful with everyone with HD. But at the same time, you've got all this pressure to be sub 250 or jump through a load of legal hoops. So on the one hand, you're getting people interested in the sport. On the other hand, you've got more legal paperwork to get through to be able to actually do the race. How's that balance working out, do you think?
I think people are working their way around it because I think we all just love flying. And I think if we can find a way around it, we will find a way around it. Everyone's really, really intelligent in this hobby, so they're going to find it fast too.
Yeah.
But I think like with having the FRIAs, we've gotten around that. In 2022, I was in the World Games and we flew at Protective Stadium, which was right next to an airport. So the organization, we saw planes flying overhead as we were there, very low. And they were like, if you go over these lines, you're out. I mean, these lights, you're out. Like, you will not fly anymore. So they were very strict, and they jumped through hoops and they did all the paperwork and they got the race to happen. And I know Major League Drone Racing, which is doing large drones too, they're having races in a lot of really cool locations and jumping through the hoops and getting what needs to be done to do that. And they're focusing on the spectator side of it.
That's awesome. Excellent. Yeah.
That's cool.
Dot the I's, cross the T's, make it happen.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So talking to attracting new people in the hobby. Now, I take it you're still teaching?
Yes.
And I've seen loads of videos of you flying around your students and them having just sort of chasing your tiny whoops around. Are you getting these guys into the hobby? Are you teaching little ones how to fly these days?
Yeah, with each year I do more and more. Last year was my biggest year to date. I filled out some paperwork maybe last summer, 2 summers ago, and got a $3,000 grant just to buy drone gear. Like, that is an incredible amount of money, and I still have half of it left. So like, I don't even know what to do with it. So I bought a bunch of, they're called Hisenji. That's the company. Because I've flown a lot of different whoops, a lot, brushless. I've done the kits, I've done custom builds, everything. And I tried this Hisenji kit. They sent it to me, full disclosure. And it was amazing. Like, I've never seen kids be able to fly right away like this. The one thing that the con is, like, they're 85 millimeter around there. So they're a little heavier, and like, but they're so durable in exchange, like what they're made of. It's worth it because kids are going to destroy them.
Yeah.
And it has like this gaming aspect of it. So they don't use Betaflight, but they want to teach the kids to tune and program their drone. So they have an app for that. And it's like, you can change the LED, you can increase the yaw, so they're using that language. You can decrease the pitch. So you're in there like adjusting the settings. Oh, hey, bags. And each drone has like an anime character, so it's super engaging for them. And, you know, it's all FPV. So they were flying day one. They're a little clumsy. They've probably dropped the drone and goggles 100 times. But nothing's broken. I mean, like maybe one camera. We've lost a camera. And that's not bad because it's plug and play. And it's all modular built. So like you can teach them a little bit of building. Yeah, no soldering. So you can teach them a little bit of building. You can get them started. You can do motors, the frame, the camera, little things like that. And like it's a huge all-in-one piece that goes in the middle of it. But
How did you find out about that? Because that's a name I've never heard of, and I've seen every drone review in the last 5 years. I think it certainly feels like it.
I think Bardwell did a review on it, so you could check out his review on it. But I think they sought me out because I do a lot of tiny whooping, and I think they recognized I was an educator. So they got one in my hands, and then I just fell in love with it. And after the grant, I bought 4 or 5 of them for my school. And the kids, at the end of the year, now I'm on summer vacation, they did the talent show. And I had like 5 or 6 of them in the talent show flying around with their little drones. It was awesome. But it was including this program with, you know, teaching reading, writing, math, and all that, really made this year for them. I have never had kids like crying at the end of the year when they were leaving school because it was summer vacation. Like they were so excited just to have that experience, because, you know, it's super hard to get into drones. You can buy those cheap toy ones, but if you're a kid, you really need like a parent or a role model to help you.
Yeah, the learning curve to get in is tricky. So that is pretty cool. How do you say it? Hisenji, or?
I think I'm saying it right. Hisenji.
Yeah, that is cool that they have that sort of option for. I guess it is kind of geared as a toy-ish type thing for kids, so that's kind of perfect. Yeah.
But they fly really well. Like, you know, I had one of those little beta FPV kits that flew better than that.
Oh wow.
So that was really nice. And the goggles are a bit uncomfortable, so I would definitely recommend not using those. But strangely enough, when I was in Abu Dhabi, Hisenji was there. You know, I wasn't expecting that. So I got to meet the creators while I was in the Middle East.
That's smart. I think, yeah, the 85mm it's not used a lot, but you get that little bit extra durability, and everything can be that little bit larger and less fiddly to connect. It makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And it turtle loaded and everything. So it had what you needed. The people who created it are drone pilots. So they just wanted to get more people in the hobby. That was their goal, starting with kids.
That's smart.
So you said that the goggles though they were not the most comfortable or something.
No, they're box goggles. It's really like it bothers the nose a bit. The kids are picky with the way things feel on them, I think, more than we are. But it's just analog video, so you could hook up a screen or hook up any other goggles, right? Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that's Rita, Redhead Rita. We have Rita and we have Cooper. And I think they just came out with another one. I keep telling them, like, you need a Mako. You can have a little Mako anime character drone.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Those goggles look like the same box goggles that you see on 101 different toy quads, but they get the job done, I guess, at the end of the day, right?
It's kind of nice.
Kind of pricey. I think they have a new one coming out, but that's the thing. The kit is pretty pricey. I think people see the sticker and like, wow, but yeah, it is so good if you have that kind of cash.
So you've got like the Go ahead.
But I was just going to say, it's also pretty useful that, like, if you stuck like a TX16 in a small kid's hands, you can just imagine them trying to use it. And of course, that's just a little game controller, which presumably they'll all be used to.
Yeah, they're all used to that. And I bought a couple of Amazon drones too. What are those Ishin drones? I can't remember what they're called. It's a little jelly bean controller.
Oh,
so I got a couple of those just to get them used to the controls.
Yeah, well, those ones with the tiny sticks, which are really hard to, because there's not enough.
You feel like you're a giant. Yeah.
I mean, even for me, a TX16S is like way too big for my hands, so I can't even imagine.
Same. I had to switch to the Zaro because it was just too big.
Same.
Yeah, I just use a Tango 2, and I'm like, yes, I can go in a small box in my backpack. I don't have to have like a whole case. Like,
I'm still using that modded Jumper T-Lite. It's not great. It's got a really basic screen, but I slapped the gimbals off the Zorro in there, and it's kind of enough radio for almost every situation. If I'm going to be doing serious flying, I want something that's got a higher power module, and I want something that's maybe going to have better battery life. But it's amazing how much you can kind of get done with a tiny little radio.
Yeah, the packing, like you said, is amazing. Like traveling in the airport and stuff, like you can't fit a TX16 in there. It's such a pain.
Yeah, like if I can fit all my the huge Torval bags that are like the size of a human. I don't know how those guys or how these guys just go to travel or go to the field with it. I'm like, okay, I have my Van skateboard backpack. If I can fit everything, some extra props, my batteries, okay, good. I don't want to
just be that person that took a couple more changes of clothes instead of the TX16S. You know, your friends are going to be so much happier at the end of the week that you put a couple extra changes of underwear and shirts in there, and you weren't re-wearing the same damn thing all week. You're going to be way more popular.
Yeah, and I'm loving the pocket for this. Goes in a tiny backpack when I'm flying, and these unscrew and so you can't damage it when you put it in something. It can't take stuff out. So that is a great little backpack one. If I'm testing whoops or little flyers, I can take this little tiny 20-liter backpack instead of, well, like you say, the Torval ones. It's like I can fit a small child in there and things.
You feel like you're about to start an endurance challenge. Every time I put that on, I'm like, I just mentally picture myself climbing a mountain some way with this thing strapped.
I remember the one day I was in the UK and I was like taking Jack's backpack out of his trunk, and I'm just like, like trying to pick it up. I'm just like,
Mm.
this guy's got bricks in here or something. Like those bags carry a lot. Yeah.
You know, it's not
Someone's
even full.
mentioned the T20 as well. We were quite.
Yeah,
I was
EVR
quite
was
down
saying, yeah.
on the jumper stuff to start with because they were kind of in a bad place when they released that radio. But with the benefit of probably 12 months out in the field, I'm seeing more and more people say, you know, get this radio, put better gimbals on it, and it's a keeper.
It's an interesting form factor. It's almost, it looks like almost a squished version of a TX16S kind of, but almost more rectangular, I guess.
It's kind of like the one they did, but I'm blanking on it now. It's like the mono radio they did, but kind of much shorter vertically. Like you take that TX16S form factor and you just smoosh it and you get rid of the color screen and you put the little OLED from a Tango in there instead, and you just make it as short vertically as you can get away with, and that's what you've got.
I went off jumper because the one jumper thing I had broke. Yeah, boo. My little T12, which I quite liked.
They had a rough spot. I think they were trying to be everything to everyone for a while. Maybe they backed off a little bit now.
That pocket though seems pretty popular with everybody, especially
Yep.
the Gorilla Whoopers. They love to, you know, sneak.
So cheap as well.
somewhere.
It's like $65 or something, and that's like with a decent ELRS module, and it's just it's as good as like a proper radio, one might say. It's just something it's so easy to take around and stuff.
I remember getting that T-Light. I bought 2 of them because they were under £40
Ooh, that's
through
good.
Mako Fire. So I just got a backup because I was like, this cheap, it's going to break. And I still got the second one. I haven't had to break it out and replace the other one. It's still going by some miracle.
Yeah, I see that FPV vegan guy all the time flying with the gorilla whooping and stuff. I don't know what he uses. I don't know if he's using a Tango or something,
That's a
but
good question.
oh,
Hey!
Wild Tony has appeared.
Hi, Mako, you all right?
Yeah, now that you're here, I'm even better.
Oh, bless. How you been?
Good, thanks. Oh, look, he put him on the spot there.
Well, don't put me on big screen. Well, I've just got back from a 55-mile ride and I'm not feeling very well. Oh my God, I'm trying to get some fluids in me. I've run out of water, I've run out of battery on my phone, which then turned so I couldn't see how much power my e-bikes had, and then my e-bike literally just ran out a mile away, so I had a nightmare.
Oh wow.
It's slightly less impressive when you say,
yeah.
What's that?
less impressive when you say I've done 55-mile ride on my e-bike, because that's like, okay, look at me go.
Mate,
Are
I
you
did
a mountain
70 miles
biker?
in the car the other day. I don't know what you're complaining about.
Oh God! Try having a Jack Russell strapped to your chest, and then drinks and stuff in your back, and then riding on gravel. It was not fun.
Yeah,
Are
I
you a
bike
big
like
mountain biker, Tony?
I have been mountain biking, for the last about 5 years.
I just started picking it up, so I thought of you.
Oh,
Nice.
what bike you got?
Well, I have a couple bikes. I don't really know. I have like an old bike. I will message you, okay?
Okay, cool.
It's like one of these weird names. Oh God, I have a Trek. That's one of them. But
All
the
right,
actual mountain bike one, I can't think of the name of it. I'm sorry. It's
Oh,
like
cool.
a really weird name. I will send it to you.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh
Sorry.
God, I'm so tired. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your flow. I started watching for 5 minutes, and it was really good. And Cole was like, "Come on, just make."
I know Sam Pilgrim. I am subscribed.
Who's
Oh man,
who's
that
not?
last
He's
video.
crazy.
Saw
He is
blades,
crazy.
that was something.
He has he doesn't do Red Bull anymore, but I used to laugh at his Red Bull stuff because he would just like crack a
Monster
Red Bull.
Energy.
Like,
He's not doing Monster anymore.
oh,
either.
wait, it's not Red Bull, it's Monster, sorry.
Yeah, it was Monster. Yeah,
But his Monster Energy drink was funny. He would just go crazy.
yeah. I enjoyed his stuff.
He dresses
Oh, dear.
Santa. He's just wild.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
cycling down flights of stairs with saw blades, circular saw blade wheels in the last video. And
Yeah,
that was,
no brakes, nothing.
Yeah. I only noticed he didn't have any brakes after a few seconds. He's like, it's a bit sketch.
Wow.
And I'm like, because of the
Just
saw
a
blades?
bit.
No, because you have no brakes and saw blades for wheels.
Yeah. He's done quite a lot of things. What else has he done? He's done. He's put like plastic on his wheels, so he was sliding all the time.
Drift bikes. Yeah.
Drift biking stuff. Oh yeah, he's done
Didn't
a
he
lot.
cycle a radiator? It was like a household radiator with wheels on, and then he had one that was like made of a penny farthing made of this giant iron bedstead.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I've seen that. And then
and
he
you
had a
See
fan
one
on
with
the
his
back.
girlfriend.
Yeah, he
where
got one of those parasail. Sorry.
Did you see the one with the wheel he was spinning? I think it was his girlfriend at the
Oh
time.
yeah, in the garden.
He was really mean to her. I was like, one of the pieces was like, we move in together. He's like, oh God, thank God we didn't land on that.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're on the topic of mountain biking, Tony, remember that DJI product that just came out? Actually,
Very, very good.
what is it again? Because you probably know better than I do.
Well, DJI have literally just come into the market with a mountain bike and all their stuff in. So they've made their motor. Obviously, they've making their batteries, their controllers, everything. They've even used the screen from their what's their action camera called?
Osmo or
is it Osmo?
It's just called Action 2.
Oh, Action 2. Yeah.
Well, they use that screen on the as a display as well. So, and they've come in with this motor, which is like 120 newton meters of torque, I think, which is just blowing everyone out of the water because I'm riding it's 85 in turbo, like 600 watts, and this is 1,000 watts. I think it can only do 120 for 30 seconds. So like you've got turbo and then you've got ultra turbo or turbo plus or something like that, and it's crazy.
You've got the special "it's getting toasty" button. You can hold that down for a while.
Yeah,
on a cold day.
But they've put so many good things from their drones into it. Like, you know, when you don't fly for a while, your battery will discharge itself, so it doesn't sit there frying itself. They've put that tech into their batteries, into the big frame battery. So that's so good. Like, imagine charging your bike, and then I've done it before. I've charged my bike thinking I'm going to go out and don't go out for a few days, and you think, oh my God, it's sitting there sizzling at 100%. So yeah, they've got in with
they've got like a little smart chip in there, right? That'll kind of put it down as storage or whatever.
DJI features like region locking stuff, so you can only go over like 17 mile an hour if you're outside of Europe.
Well, you're pretty much screwed in the UK anyway, because you can only do 15.5 mile an hour and then it cuts off. All e-bikes cut off at that speed. Sorry, this is supposed to be a drone show.
I'm just wondering if you have to go online to like activate it or something. Is it still that DJI sort of stuff?
I don't know if it's like that, but they've got some really good tech, and they've come bang straight in the middle with the weight of their bike as well. So you get full fat bikes like mine, which are about 26 kilograms, so weigh a ton. Like trying to lift them over stiles is
it's like a 5-year-old or something, or a very fat dog.
Pretty much. And then you've got the lightweight stuff. What's their lightweight stuff? About 19, something like that. So, and then they've come in about 22, I think. So they've done really well. But yeah, I'm loving all their tech that they've put from their drone stuff into bikes.
It's when you say DJI bike, I'm honestly thinking like you'll turn it on. It says, "Hold on, do the compass," and you'll be there spinning your bike around and things like this, just waiting. So it knows which way.
DJI dance.
You have to wait till it gets GPS locked before you're okay to pedal.
Well, it has got GPS built in as well, so you can track your bike from if it gets stolen or whatever.
So you got to return to home.
You see bikes just like autonomously like driving down the street.
I don't know. I just think they've come straight in the market, from drones into this bike, and shook the whole industry up, really, especially with their motor delivering the torque that it's got.
Do you think that they saw some of the threats the US was throwing at their imports, and this is like a diversification after that?
Well, you never know, do you?
Yeah. Gonna be doing vacuum cleaners next week.
I bet you they would suck pretty good actually, because DJI products usually work pretty well.
Editor, sound clip. Thank you.
You can have that as the tagline. This sucks pretty good.
Oh, dude. Wow, I'm embarrassed.
Let me know. I see you still practicing in your garden and stuff.
Oh yes. I've been setting up a few tracks. I actually put the Mavic up and got a aerial shot of my yard so I can go in and like play skates on the computer and make tracks.
Nice. That's cool.
And I fly my 5-inch out there on 6S with 20 kV motors. So, and it's a pretty tight area. So over the years, I haven't hit the house too many times, but I hit the house earlier this month, I think it was. And we decided to get a net. So we now have a net up to like prevent windows from breaking.
Getting serious.
Maybe I can push a little harder now with the
right.
nets there. But definitely wasn't flying my fastest, knowing that the house was within 6 feet.
Yeah, big windows and stuff. So does the hubby still fly?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Does husband still fly?
Yes, he does. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He races a little bit with me. He doesn't fly as much as me, and I am faster than him. Bobby Bags in the chat will tell you that.
Oh.
But he is a really good builder. I build all my stuff, but if I ever have a question, like, he's someone I can go to, or I can ask Bobby, who I asked today.
Nice.
I'm shouting out to my boy in the chat. Sorry.
That's all right.
It must be really useful just to be able to say, I need to do a few packs today and not have to leave the house. Because I think that's one of for all of us, it's been a serious problem finding places which is okay to fly at, which is remote enough that no one's going to be there sort of getting a sort of attitude about it. But if it's too remote, it takes like half an hour, 40 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
Or you're up to your knees in mud.
Or it's raining.
Yeah.
Well, that's just England. It always rains.
Something. You're like,
see, my solution for this is find bridges that are going to open up the next day and that are cordoned off, and go there the day before they're going to open, so then you can fly there and no one's going to bother you.
the big M25.
You live in where no one uses bridges, where they just get days off for random reasons.
Have you seen how big Canada is? It's like really big.
And England is like days off. How does that even?
No. So what it
rights in Canada?
So basically, there's a new reconstructed bridge. It was like it was complete, but they were doing like a grand opening. So they had fences to block it off, so cars couldn't go on it. So I'm like, well, that's perfect. I can rip this, and then no one's ever gonna have a chance to rip this again. So
yeah,
that was the best part of COVID. At least for where I live, we could go out. So I would just take advantage and go to every spot that's tourists we're not at, and flew them.
Yeah.
Lighthouses. I hit up so many lighthouses.
Bring on the bird flu. Woohoo!
I'd love to do that around London, but I've developed quite an allergy to being tased.
Jack
had his hands up. Yeah.
Mako, before we run out of time, I've always wanted to ask you, on Flow State, you appeared and they interviewed you. How did you find that?
That was really cool. Actually, Steele reached out to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, starstruck kind of here." And he was like, "Yeah, I know this producer. We're making this documentary. I'm gonna give him your name." I was like, "Okay." So he messaged me, and then I traveled down south and flew with Little Stellar Fox and Cricket, actually. So we did some flying and our interviews as well, and it was really cool because I think that documentary's emphasis was on really trying to help our hobby and to save it from regulation. So I was happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's been a few years now. I think we could almost use maybe a more informal kind of web-based update to that, kind of follow on from everything that Flow State, because there were a lot of questions raised. I feel like those questions should have follow-ups or maybe answers.
I know, they need a part 2.
Well, I see Joshua Bardwell, he releases sort of like behind the scenes or like uncut or the things that didn't make it or whatever. That's pretty cool to see every now and again.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes. There was a whole education scene that got cut. So maybe he'll release that one day that I'm a part of. That has a lot of like my students and stuff. Yeah. And I know they released one recently about simulators that I was a part of.
Huh.
Speaking of your students and stuff, like we saw the kind of, and I did watch this video, I just completely blanked on the name, but so we've seen like a one-off with this Helsinki thing. Are you going to film and the students all going crazy together with these different kits and the gamification? Because I think Bardwell's sitting there like kind of old man view, like, oh, you can change the icon, you can give it an avatar. Oh, I guess, well, you might want to. Well, it would be really interesting to see how kids actually interpret that and like through their lens, what they make of it.
I know it's tough. I might pursue that more with next year's group. I know there's a lot of laws as far as like what you can include kids in without their parents. You know, if I had their parents' permission, I probably could do something like that.
Yeah.
But I can't just outright post them and stuff.
No.
But I have so much footage too, because we made a video about them learning to fly for the talent show. We played it at the talent show, and I'd love to share it with everyone, but I'm like,
because everyone sees, like, once people get into the competitive circuit, once they're starting doing racing and they're kind of out there and, you know, crashing and but there's this kind of like, how did people even get there? Because it's not a hobby you just walk into unless your parents are doing it. You don't just suddenly decide to do drone racing.
Yeah, I think it's in more colleges now, which will be a huge draw for kids, I think, to learn about drones in college. And they have some collegiate leagues. We actually raced with the collegiate champion locally. My race chapter has some crazy good racers, like within the top 10 of the world. So it's good flying against people who are faster than you to get better. But it's very hard to ever get on that podium.
Yeah. You don't get younger and faster. That's the trouble, right? I mean, the reflexes of teenagers are just deadly.
Yes, we were talking about earlier. Yeah, the Fortnite generation.
Yeah.
It's ironic because most of the time teenagers act like slugs and don't move at all. And apparently their fingers are just really fast when they want to be.
Right.
Are you going anywhere, Mako, this year? Have you been invited anywhere? You got any drone racing abroad? Because I've seen you've gone abroad a couple of times since we last had you on the show.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. I think I'd like to go to Champs this year. I don't have anything else planned, but I'd love to go to multi-GP Champs. I didn't really get to put, there's this race called the Global Qualifier, and they have one in the spring and one in the summer. And basically each chapter can set it up, and you have to measure it out, submit the measurements, so you can get on a leaderboard globally, so you can be ranked. And your ranking can feed you basically into like a pro class or a sport class for Champs. So the spring qualifier, we didn't start flying where I live because we had freak snowstorms so late in the year that our summer didn't really start until May. And we usually get flying in April. And everyone was flying in March. So we had lost a couple months with that. And I didn't get to fly the spring one. So I put in a time cold and wasn't incredibly happy with it. So this summer one, I've already practiced it once. I could feel like I'm going to put a good time in and hopefully get to go to Florida in November or October.
Nice. I bet it still be warm over there. And I've been there in October and it's still hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If it's Florida, it's still nice. Where I live, it starts to get cold in October, but we typically fly until maybe November if we're lucky.
Yeah, you must be on the same sort of line as us.
Yeah, I think
we get the same sort of weather, but I think we're probably a bit wetter. We get a bit.
We get all the island unpredictability.
Yeah, rain from the west all the time.
So if there's now collegiate leagues, do you think there's a possibility in the future of people getting a scholarship to go to college to fly a drone? Is that possible?
I don't know. It depends on where the tech goes, because everything gets automated. I just fear like the pilot's going to be removed from the equation one day.
I do remember when I was first telling my colleagues at work, who are all sort of techie people, about me flying, and they're like, why are you flying it yourself? Why aren't you making it fly for you? And I was like, well, that's the fun bit. This is you could make it fly automated and come up with some like super whizzy systems, but where's the fun in that?
Well, like you're saying about the cars, right? They all just form up in a line and bump into each other and proceed to go around attached to each other's bumpers. So what's the point?
Exactly.
I think my next drone's going to be automated. I like that little hand one that it's in a cage and you just unfold it and it takes off and follows you. It's
Yeah.
pretty good. I don't know what
filming
it's
one.
called. Yeah, I can't
I've
remember.
forgotten now as
Well,
well.
I love the FPV drone use in sports now. That is. I was just thinking of it following you and how they
Chase
follow
footage.
mountain bikes and all the chase footage that's come out. So I think that's going to keep going. I don't think that's
I
leaving
don't think they
anytime
could
soon.
automate that.
Yeah.
Maybe they could, but
There's so many times in the media recently where I thought, I know how they got that shot. And you could
that's
just
the one.
you can tell by the way that they get those lines in that that's not a stationary camera. That is someone who is absolutely ripping following a subject.
Yeah.
For some reason, in skiing, they put the sound in. When you're watching the chase footage of people doing like the downhill races, all you can hear is of the engines. It's like, turn that mic off. That's too loud.
Yeah.
You just want to hear the whooshing.
Yeah, there's actually this there, you know, like Most Extreme Elimination Challenge and sort of like those type of TV shows, like sort of back in the day, so to speak. Well, there's now a TV show in Japan which is like a skateboarding challenge show.
I've come across that.
Well, this has popped up on YouTube for me as well.
I forget what it's called right now, but it's you see a lot of whoops and FPV shots within it, whether they're showing off the course or chasing the skateboarder.
Yeah,
and it's so cool to see, like just seeing it implemented in the sports aspect. Yeah.
When you say Japanese challenge, all I think is like there's a skateboarder who's got to do a trick while surrounded by 7 cine whoops.
Bagzilla says that the multi-GP Pro spec will bring bigger prize pools to future races. Yeah, he's 100% correct on that. Like I said, multi-GP is doing it right, and I didn't even think about that aspect. We don't really have big prize pools for our races unless it's the finals or something like that. And this is going to bring actual prizes to races throughout the year. So that's a huge change.
I wait to see what colleges are like in 15 years when people are getting their on drone racing scholarships. It's going to be a very weird crowd of jocks.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because if they don't do something with drones, I'm sure they'll do something in aviation, which is definitely needed now. So bring on those scholarships. Yeah. Maybe one of my future students will get one.
Yeah.
Oh, I've forgotten what I was gonna ask you something, and I just completely gone.
Multi-GP, something's in.
Oh no, I was going to ask. Do you have racing? Do you have different like kids racing? I don't know how to say it. I'm old now, and I don't want to race kids. Do you have ones for
seniors?
Grannies?
Good question.
Tennis, where all the guys whose knees creak play against each other.
At local races, if it's a bigger race, we'll do like different classes sometimes.
Classes. I told you.
But at IO, Multi-GP IO, which they just had this summer, which is a huge drone racing festival, I would say, they have like an over 40 race, over 50 race. So that's kind of fun.
I'm going to be in the last one soon.
I know. It's like, if I go to the over 40 race, will they card me?
Yeah.
It's true. What I'm going to do is just bide my time until I'm the oldest one there and enter that category on my own. If I can just get round a lap, winner.
It'll just be you and Bruce like sitting in a couple of chairs grumbling in the corner.
Exactly.
There you go. They had their first women's race at Multi-GP IO too. There was maybe 7 or 8 of them, which is an increase. Usually there's like 3 to 5 females, so that's growing to the female side of the scene.
Is Stella Fox still on the scene, or is she literally just done?
No, I think she's done. I mean, maybe she'll fly once in a while here and there, but I think she's pretty done with it.
Do you speak to her at all?
Every now and then.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
But a lot of them fall off. Blue Owl's been gone for a while, of course, as you guys know.
Any new pilots coming in? Because I know there's always been an overlap with skate culture, and I'm seeing so many more women skateboarding these days. It's really exploded. I'm wondering if there's going to be a whole load of women drone pilots coming up.
I'm seeing a lot of female racers. We did not have so many lady racers, and they're just new ones all the time, and they're getting younger and younger. Because when I started flying, the active racers were all my age, adult women. who, you know, already have a house, like, yeah. Now they're, you know, high school age and college age. So it's really great to see the younger kids getting into it and growing it because they're getting their friends in it. So we have one guy, Pedro, the collegiate champion, and they have a drone program at his college, and he is just bringing racers to our races every week, new racers all the time. So that is so cool. Like I said, that collegiate thing is really going to help grow it.
They'll be at the top in another 4 years. So
yeah,
it's got to happen.
Yeah. But this year I raced already with 2 or 3 females locally, and in years past I never ever raced with a female locally. So
that's awesome.
It's cool to see. Not that I don't like hanging out with all you guys and anything, but it's kind of nice sometimes.
Everyone should be able to enjoy it. I know we kind of we tiptoed around it, but like the culture is occasionally toxic, and in the past maybe it's been more than occasionally toxic. So it's nice.
Well, there was less girls in there then.
Yeah. But it's nice to hear the trend is kind of being a bit more friendly, a bit more open. You know, come one, come all.
Yeah, we try to be really supportive of each other. Like Mach 1 has over 20 pilots, so we're trying to just, you know, support everybody and bring them on our team and help them. And I know I've gotten a few sponsorships for some of the ladies on our team, and I just bringing us together because we're all over the world, you know, hours apart. We never get to fly together, so it's fun to be able to do that virtually. We do sim together sometimes because we're on the sim team, so we fly virtually. But other than that,
how's that working out? Because you've just come out of this, like, presumably lockdown for you was a time when you got really, 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 really experienced on sims. Like, how is it now that sims are perhaps more a regular part of racing than they were before? How's that changed things?
I think a lot of people love sims, and it will always be a part of racing. You know, a lot of the, like multi-GP, for example, will release tracks on the sim, and then you fly them in real life. So that's a huge part of it. Myself, I don't really enjoy sim, especially during COVID, because I had to teach on the computer. So I was already on the computer, and I didn't want to stay on the computer to sim more. And I just would much rather be outside, but I see it as such a vital tool to drone racing and to even getting into drones. I didn't take the sim route. I wish I had practiced sim a little bit. I didn't even know about simulators. But I know
you only lost one drone so far, so you got away with it.
Not bad. I worked my way up with tiny whoops, so simming came later. But it's fun to do on a rainy day. I have to do it, you know, to practice for DCL. But DCL, the game, is actually a pretty fun sim because it is more of a game than a simulator, which is why they name it that. All locations are real life locations. Like, you can fly in China, you can fly in Austria, all kinds of different countries. And they used to race actually in real life in these locations. So a lot of these environments are modeled after places that they flew back before COVID. So you're scaling skyscrapers, and like, you don't do that when you drone race.
Yeah. I was just going to say, there's things like there's a bridge level which is quite famous, right? And you don't just go flying through giant bridges as a part of a race course, or maybe you do,
unless you're cold.
We're in the field most of the time.
Non-opened bridges. Someone was telling me about a sim recently. It's like a fairly new one that I guess uses Google Maps as like.
Oh, really?
I don't know what it was, but they're saying Google Maps is integrated in it, so you can actually fly anywhere you want. But I don't know the name of it, unfortunately.
That's wild. Fly the Great Wall of China, you know, fly over Area 51.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I suppose it'd be okay if they can work out what stuff is. That's what Microsoft Flight Simulator did. They took maps and then they said, that looks like a house, make a house there. And it sort of works out okay. But if you go very low down, it's like, well, that's a bit fuzzy and weird.
Yeah, it gets to look a little bit non-human when you get too close to the ground.
Yeah, if you're like 1,000 feet, it looks really impressive. You're at 1 feet. My house looks weird.
Yeah, well, one time I was really bored during the pandemic, and I went and dove the Toronto CN Tower, except it was on Google Maps. It was on Google Maps, so so I made like a little animation because I don't know if you've done it or no, it's Google Earth. Google Earth, you can like fly through, and you can like almost set like automation or key points exactly, and yeah, so I did that. Not in real life though. I wish.
I actually have a friend who flew the Golden Gate Bridge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Badass.
I'm not gonna say who she was.
Well, someone who found a micro SD card with footage of someone else flying the Golden Gate Bridge.
It wasn't me.
There's more of that going.
I've actually forgot. It definitely wasn't me. I don't
No.
live anywhere near there. But she posted and everything. I was like, holy shit.
That'll be something.
We got a badass on our hands over here.
Yeah.
That was the bridge level, right? The big red bridge in DCL. Is that the Golden Gate? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because there's a massive bridge level where you're like flying through the struts and you're doing all these awkward like loops. I'm just terrible. I'm just bouncing.
It's the city level. Prop Town is based on. It's not based on the one in the US. It's not actually based on any certain.
I think I'm committing a cardinal sin, and I've confused
DRL?
DCL with DRL.
Oh yeah.
No, the police are gonna get me now because DRL is the one with the big bridge thing.
Yeah.
Tisk, Stephen.
Tisk, indeed. So I've just wandered into that. Shall we actually like lay out? Do you do any DRL stuff as well? Then is there a big?
I have off and on, but I don't really have time to do more than just like DCL and practicing in real life. I get on Velocidrone every now and then, like to learn the qualifier tracks that Multi-G posts, but it just comes down to time. If I had more time, I would fly DRL too. I love the boneyards. Like they have a plane boneyard where you can fly where all the planes are. That's wicked awesome.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah,
that'd be cool in real life.
Yeah, I've always wanted to
races that I know of that have been around planes. I think there's a Whoop race somewhere a little bit to the west of us that is at an Air Force museum, and they fly like in the planes and stuff at the museum. The video's like not too bad, but in certain spots you could tell it's a little harder to see all the metal.
A lot of metal reflections.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're just winding up now. We're letting our fantastic Patreons flow below us. Thank you, fantastic Patreons. If your name is here, you are amazing, and you're enabling fantastic guests like this to come on and talk to us. So thank you very much. Jack, any last words there? We've been
quiet.
Yeah.
No, carry on. See us out. You started.
I'll do.
Who's been here? What are you listening to? Like and subscribe.
Jack, you do it, Jack.
Hello.
You always
You're doing it now.
Hello, you've been listening to Let's Drone Out, joined by the fantastic Mako Reactra. Thank you very much, Mako.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Curry Kitten, everyone's favourite.
I mean, the order was wrong, but that'll do.
Our
Goodbye.
stand-in and fantastic overlord in second in command, Jack.
Thank you.
Everyone's favourite long-range Canadian that happens to be on this show, Cole.
See ya.
Tonstar, saving up for his next DJI bike.
Bonjour.
And myself, Stephen, the idiot with the mustache. It's been wonderful. Thank you to all of our fantastic Patreons, and we will see you next week. All the best.
Bye.